Understanding the environments and the species that shared these environments and are still here today. It's their history as well. It's these birds, they have histories, and Indigenous knowledge really acknowledges that. And so there are just some nuances there when we're thinking about extinction and we're thinking about critically endangered species. Having a bit of cultural context to conservation today is important, and thinking about how archaeology and how these bird bones, these tiny fragments, have a part to play.
Welcome to the Research and Reason podcast. Join us as we discuss the latest research, news and opinion from academics in the Faculty of Arts and Education at the University of Auckland.
Kia ora koutou. Ko Julianne Evans tōku ingoa. I'm the Media Advisor for the Faculty of Arts and Education. And today I'm chatting about fascinating discoveries from the Marquesas Islands of French Polynesia with Patricia Pillay, a PhD student in anthropology. Tēnā koe, Patricia. Thank you so much for coming in.
Tēnā koe, Julianne. Ngā mihi nui kia koe. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
You and your team have been piecing together how birds and humans interacted in the Marquesas Islands hundreds of years ago, with the help of some pretty amazing state-of-the-art lab technology, looking at ancient bird DNA and very tiny little fragments of bird DNA. How did that all come about? Because it's pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Julianne. It's actually none of it would have been possible without Professor Melinda Allen, my main supervisor in anthropology. She's an archaeologist, and she's done a lot of amazing work in the Marquesas Islands, specifically on Nukuhiva, with the Nukuhiva communities.
That's the largest island, is it?
That's correct. It's the largest island, and it's in the northern Marquesas Islands, is the northern and southern region. And it's the largest as well. And she spent several years excavating and collecting the archaeological excavation materials for research here at the University of Auckland, Waipapa Taumatoro, and they're held in anthropology. And so I was very lucky to be working on already carefully curated faunal animal bones, and from that focusing on bird bones specifically, because they've not been studied to the extent that we're looking at them now.
Where did she find those bird fragments? Because it's quite fascinating. Where did she know to look for them? Because they're not evident on the surface of the island, are they?
No, they won't be there. Often we have to dig, and Melinda would knows this because she's a Pacific archaeologist, so she specializes in how people in the Pacific Islands lived in the past, and so she's been on various research projects and talking with local communities. You know roughly where people in the past would have possibly occupied, mostly coastal settlements, and you'd often survey or scan the land, do preliminary investigations, and then conduct methodical excavations with local community excavators.
Quite painstaking work, right?
Very, very painstaking work, and a lot of the work out in the field is actually double in the lab. So a lot of what you excavate takes years to process in the lab because there's so much of information that can be gained. So we're really lucky that we have really well dated, carefully excavated materials from Nukuhiva that the Marquesas communities are interested in, and the wider Pacific too.
And they're happy for that to be in our possession, presumably.
Yeah. Melinda has permissions. Yeah.
Yeah. And those tiny little fragments, these are like tiny little fingernail, almost level things. How did you put those into a lab environment and then come out with the amazing discoveries that we're going to hear about in a minute?
Yeah, so that's really thanks to the really cool supervisory team that has assembled through both Melinda and Natalie, our senior bioanthropology technician here.
Natalie?
Oh, Dr. Natalie Remedios.
Yeah.
here at the university in anthropology. And Natalie is an amazing geneticist, and she specializes in bird genetics specifically. So we're really lucky to have her. And she had great connections with Associate Professor Anna Sancher in School of Biological Sciences. And between Natalie and Anna, they really guided me on thinking about the advanced genetic technology that we have available to help give, I guess, new life to these fragments of bird bones that would often be left unanalyzed because they're too small. And
Because you didn't know what they were, did you, to start
No.
with? So you started with a big tray of tiny little things.
Yes, you don't know if they're a mammal or if they're maybe another taxa. We have some that were sorted that we've looked at that were likely attributed to bird, others that we were more confident were bird, but they didn't have the diagnostic or morphologically identifiable shapes that are more telling of being bird as opposed to being dog, for example. Yeah.
Right. So you had to sort of decide, okay, this lot of things is probably some sort of a bird.
Yeah.
And then what did you do?
Yeah, so really lucky that Melinda helped really sort that out. Between me and Melinda, she had already organized. She'd already organized a lot of the bones that we were going to look at, and then what we did with that is we used a technique called bulk bone metabarcoding, which is a great method that exists in the literature. But with Natalie's help and with Anna, we really tailored it for tropical Pacific collections, because these collections from the Marquesas and other parts of the Pacific, they're often poorly preserved, the bone. You can imagine sitting in the ground for 700 years or so.
With all of the hot air, the wind, the sand,
Yeah.
the sea.
Multiple preservation conditions impacting these bones. We're not in like a permafrost environment,
Like
or
the Antarctic.
the Antarctic or the
Yeah.
Northern Hemisphere, like in Greenland, where they're finding amazing thousands of years old preserved
Dinosaur bones or
yeah,
something.
yeah, fossils or mammoths or other amazing animal remains, cave bears even. We're here in the tropical Pacific, where a lot of that bone is quite weathered or quite damaged, and so the DNA itself, you can imagine, it's so fragmented as well, and so it's not super easy to just extract that DNA in the same way. You really have to develop the methods to suit those Pacific environments.
And you did. And what did you discover?
Yeah, so we've successfully been able to extract DNA sequences, and for my PhD we really focused on birds, and we've been able to confirm several seabird species that we know from amazing paleontology work in the Marquesas. So it's great to confirm some of the expected species we've seen in the past, but we've also been able to confirm species that were not morphologically identified from existing archaeological records. So what I mean by that is we've got amazing paleontologists that have identified in the Marquesas Islands in previous books and publications a list of various birds, but on Nukuhiva and actually the Marquesas Islands in general, the red-tailed tropic bird hasn't been identified archaeologically. It's there today.
So let's come back to that.
Yeah.
So just in case people missed it, tell me again the name of it.
Oh yes, so it's the red-tailed tropic bird. So it's this beautiful seabird, which is white with beautiful red tail feathers, and it's present in the Marquesas. We get tropic birds coming out to New Zealand, vagrant species, so not very common, but seabirds have a wide distribution. And in the Marquesas Islands, they're present today, but we've not been able to identify them by bone in the archaeological record, but the DNA has picked both the white-tailed and the red-tailed tropic bird up.
As existing now and existing how many hundreds of years ago?
Roughly 600 to 700 years ago in the past.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've basically confirmed that those birds, which we still see now.
Yeah, we still see them today.
Ancient Polynesian people were looking at those same birds.
Exactly.
And living alongside them, I'm assuming.
That's
Yeah.
it. And it kind of, it's quite important because it gives them an extended history. It shows that their range isn't more recent, but they've had a very long existence in that area. Like it actually, it shows how long they've been established in that region, which is really useful for conservation and thinking about distribution of seabirds.
Yeah, and how did those ancient... Well, we'll talk about the other two birds in a minute. I know you found two shearwater, which are two other kinds of, I guess, seabirds.
Yes.
But the tropic bird has a lot of significance for its for that red tail, hasn't it? How was the red tail feather of that bird used by early inhabitants of those islands?
So we're really fortunate to have a lot of amazing documentation through oral histories, which are in various forms, such as song and even traditional dance. The hakamanu, which is a very famous dance in the Marquesas Islands that mimics the movements of seabirds, specifically the tropic birds. There are historical records that talk about this, oral histories that mention this, and there's actually even recent media that local Marquesan community members have created to document their traditional dance as well. So you can see they're really important to people that way. They're amazing navigators. You might call them the model navigators that Pacific people used in the past.
To tell them when land... You mean to give them ideas about land?
About
where
land,
would be?
yeah. Tropic birds are often present. The feathers of tropic birds have been used as ornaments on museum objects, those representing canoes or waka as well.
And what about in ceremonial headdresses and things like that?
Really important and chiefly regalia. There's a lot of paintings and cultural history documented that I've looked at collating together in my first part of my PhD. From amazing historical sources that document famous chiefs from Nukuhiva and other islands with these red tail feathers. And red is a really important color across Polynesia and across the Polynesian islands, all the way from, you're ranging from Samoa to Hawaii, and everyone across these islands have different ways of expressing how these feathers are used and
exchanging them perhaps and trading them.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that Melinda has been investigating through looking at her work and her publications on how the archaeology stone artifacts might fit in with those other
with movement around the Pacific.
Around the Pacific,
yeah.
And of course we don't have these feathers from the archaeological record. They're perishable, right? So that means that they're not well preserved. They're going to disintegrate or not be preserved.
No.
But that's where museum collections, oral histories, and historical knowledge are important, because it just reminds you that just because you find these bird bones in archaeological sites, it's not necessarily just for food. If anything, it could be other reasons. And while we can't directly use that to compare it back into the past, it does give us important cultural context.
Yeah. And so the tropic bird, I think people might get mixed up and think that it's a parrot or something like that, but it actually isn't, is it?
No, it's a great name, the tropic bird. But it is a seabird. Yeah.
And the other two birds that you positively identified as existing now and also existing 600 and something years ago were two shearwater, is that right?
That's right, and they're from the genus Ardina. So one was the flesh-footed shearwater, which was a provisional identification. What that means is that it we've got it
pretty close.
Pretty close to the existing species today, but it would be good to have, because there are limited reference data for Pacific Island birds, including some seabirds. It becomes quite tricky, and that's where building a curated reference database with the help of Dr. William Pearman in the biological sciences became really important, because a lot of Pacific birds remain understudied because of how far away the Pacific Islands are. Seabirds are quite complicated and move in the fact that they move around way more.
And they move long distances,
huge
don't they?
Distances.
They travel so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we know the wedge-tailed tropic bird, the wedge-tailed shearwater is present today in the Pacific, but not very common in the Marquesas. And the other shearwater identified, Ardena griseus, which is the sooty shearwater, that's found here in New Zealand, in Aotearoa. Really important to Māori. Really important food source as well, important culturally. Was available in fish and chip shops.
Was it?
Yeah. Even in the 80s, it's quite a delicacy here. They're really amazing, highly nutritious, very greasy, fatty birds. And sea birds need to be this way because of their environment and
they need to store fat.
Their ecology. Yeah, that's their bones. That's why their bones are also quite dominant, I think, in the record. They're quite a useful source of food, but other cultural reasons as well. And so those shearwaters, having them present in the archaeological record from Nukuhiva, they've not been previously identified through.
So you're the
fossil
first
evidence.
one to do it.
Yeah, our team's the first one to confirm them, which is really and note their signature in the archaeological record. So it's
you
nice.
basically got all that DNA analysis.
Yeah.
You compared it to what you know about the DNA of those three birds, the two shearwater and the tropic bird, and you looked at them both and realised, yes, there's enough similarity here to confirm that they are those birds. Is that pretty much it?
That's
in layperson's terms?
In layperson's terms, yes. Yeah, we've got enough evidence to make some confident identifications and provisional identifications. It gives us more information than we've had, and it's much more accurate as well. It's much more cautious as well. And if you're really interested, you can read our paper because
which has been recently published.
It has.
in a fabulously important magazine or a journal. Right?
Which is really lovely because it's not just read by archaeologists but other people interested in natural sciences.
And what journal is that?
Yes, that's Quaternary International. It's after the epoch Quaternary period. So if you've heard of the Holocene or the Anthropocene, you can think of like these other important periods in time, and so they've just played on that pun. And between William and I, that it was really William's genius idea to think about this curated database, and it's really important for the Pacific because a lot of these seabirds now are facing climate change issues, environmental issues, these endemic birds in these areas. So endemic means animals
native to,
not found anywhere else. It becomes really important to have curated or specific databases that account for different environments, different places.
Is that so that we know what we might lose, or we know we make better efforts to conserve them? Is that why? It's
definitely one of the benefits of that, and having that data also allows us to make more informed identifications and decisions, and think more carefully about when you can identify something taxonomically to its species and when it's better to pull back to a genus level, so a group of similar birds, so like the white-tailed tropic bird and the red-tailed tropic bird, they're part of the same genus, but they're different species. And it's really cool that with William's database, we were able to differentiate between the white-tailed and the red-tailed tropic bird. So
you could get that far down into the detail.
There was enough reference data available on publicly accessible genetic databases that William pulled together, and we were able to do some statistical robust comparisons. You can read the paper if you want to see that. I have a whole decision tree on how I made those decisions, and you could see that it's different enough.
I think most of us will just believe you,
okay.
Patricia. You don't have to go into you're so far beyond what your average person could even imagine doing here that we're just amazed that that you can find these things. And that brings me to another thing. What are you doing next in terms of the birds? Because there's parrots coming up. Is that right? Is that the next stage? Yeah,
I've been fortunate to be working with Auckland Museum, Te Papa Museum, and the Bishop Museum in Hawaii, as well the Bernice P. Bishop Museum. And it's been wonderful to have access to parrot skins. So more recent historically collected parrots that
Also from the Marquesas?
from the Marquesas,
Yes.
and from from Auckland Museum and Te Papa. They're not from the Marquesas. Those parrots are from nearby Western Polynesian islands and Eastern. They're in the same genus, so they're similarly related. But from the Bishop Museum, we've been able to get access to the Marquesan parrot with the Vinny ultramarine lorikeet.
They're an amazing, colourful bird,
Yeah,
aren't they?
they're incredible.
What do they look like?
They're they're an ultramarine, aquamarine color, bright, beautiful blues. You should definitely Google them. And the other Vinny australis and the other lorikeet from Te Papa, Vinny peruviana, they're beautiful blues and reds, very vibrant colors, and these are endemic. So the Vinny genus, that's endemic to the Pacific specifically, and these East Polynesian islands.
What are you
and
going to
West
do about these
Polynesian.
parrots? What's your job in relation to them? Is it to identify more of your ancient DNA and connect them to see if they are these parrots? Is that what it is?
We're hoping to detect them archaeologically in our ancient DNA, because we have that great record from David Steadman, Trevor Worthy, these awesome paleontologists that have done morphological work and identified these species through archaeology. But they're critically endangered today, and the ultramarine lorikeet, it's no longer present on Nukahiva due to rat populations and environmental change, but it was in the past, and now it only survives on Oahuka, and it's a really important.
Is that another one of
It's
the
another
islands?
one of the islands, a bit smaller, and it's really important to the cultural identity of people today. They dress up in the colors of the Vinny ultramarine lorikeet. It's really important to their identity today in history, and they're doing a lot of amazing conservation work to keep the species alive.
Because there's how many of them left are there, do you think?
It's going to be quite limited.
Are we talking
Less,
hundreds?
yeah,
Wow.
even maybe less, yeah.
And such beautiful birds.
Beautiful birds.
With very chatty voices, probably.
Exactly, yeah. And I think seeing the relationship between people and birds, it kind of critically evaluates extinction processes, and that's what my PhD is about. It's not just about just our impact on birds in that and just their extinctions, but thinking about the more finer details and nuances in that, like
In that relationship?
the feedback relationship. So that means like the multiple pathways between us and birds and the environment we co-share.
And how we are so interconnected.
Yeah, exactly. We're
Yeah.
not removed from the environment. And in the past, I think a lot of natural history narratives have really kind of played us as that kind of dominant force. And I think there's actually a lot of other processes that are important to consider, like the biology of the birds, their ecology as well, other introduced predators that have come into play. Not removing our role, we are part of it, but there are wider processes that are part of like a bigger environment that's changed over time, and the archaeological record can provide some of those signatures, and then we get cultural context from the museum collections and oral histories, and acknowledging Indigenous knowledge as well.
So it's like putting together the pieces of a jigsaw
Yeah.
to find the bigger picture of how humans and birds and animals generally kind of cohabited and maybe can do again, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been really wonderful working with these museum collections, because the Marquesan government, you have to get permission to access these collections in the Bishop Museum, and they are supportive of this work because it's helping contribute, even in a small way, to the cultural and natural heritage that, because the Marquesas Islands collectively are a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well.
Because of their incredible biodiversity?
Yeah, their biodiversity with species found nowhere else on the planet, their unique cultural significance in East Polynesia. They're one of the earliest places settled in East Polynesia after people moved away from Samoa Tonga and those far west Polynesian islands into the Cooks, into Marquesas, and then eventually making their way to Hawaii and Aotearoa, New Zealand. They're part of the bigger history. If you watch Scotty Morrison's TV show Origins, he talks all about the connections between various Māori iwi here and connections back into East Polynesia.
Yeah, because that was the departure point, wasn't it? Is it Raikia? What's the name of the particular island in French Polynesia that Māori often talk about as being a sort of departure point to the... I forget the name of it.
We always talk... there's always in oral histories the Hawaii as well,
Yes.
the homeland, and there's a lot of discussion around somewhere in East Polynesia. Cook Islands are very important as well. So it's not just one
not
place.
one
It
point.
depends on who you talk to, which is fascinating. It's really wonderful.
All the Indigenous people of the Pacific are interconnected.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
they're because the East Polynesia is one of the last regions to be settled by people. It's a really important part of our human history, and so understanding the environments and the species that shared these environments and are still here today, it's their history as well. It's these birds, they have histories, and Indigenous knowledge really acknowledges that. And so there are just some nuances there when we're thinking about extinction and we're thinking about critically endangered species. Having a bit of cultural context to conservation today is important, and thinking about how archaeology and how these bird bones, these tiny fragments, have a part to play in that
story and a story to tell.
And a story to tell.
Because just quickly jumping back to the Māori context,
Yeah.
a previous thing that you were involved with, your master's degree, in fact, was looking at the dental remains of Māori dogs, kuri,
Yes.
to find out about them as well.
Absolutely. So you can probably see a pattern with me. I'm a huge animal lover. I love natural history. I love human history, but I've always been passionate about bridging it together. And I've always been interested about how our relationship with animals has gone back deep in time. And the kuri is a great example of that, the Polynesian dog.
They came with the voyaging canoes, didn't they, with the waka?
Yeah.
Over to Aotearoa. Alongside the people.
Alongside people and the commensal rat, so the kiore, the Polynesian rat. But, you don't have other domesticates here arriving with people. So in New Zealand, Aotearoa, you really get a unique situation where you can look at kuri and this close relationship between people and dogs that we really can't look at in other regions of the world, because you've got other domesticates. Even in the Pacific, you have chicken, pigs, exactly. And coming to New Zealand, they quickly dispersed across the country as well. And in my master's and that publication talks more about looking at the historical records to see their distribution, like right out up into the Kermadec and down to the Auckland subantarctic.
Wow.
Auckland Islands. They really got around.
And they were used for for meat. They were used for fur. But they were also companions to people, weren't they? And treated very well.
And that's where my master's came in, because in the North Island, Te Ika a Maui, people hadn't studied the kuri teeth as well as like the South Island, Te Waipounamu, where there had been more dental records looked at by previous archaeologists. For the South Island, but the North Island hadn't been looked at. And actually, it's really interesting. There's actually a difference in the records and signatures from their teeth, and so their diet and oral health, or their dental health, these dogs, compared to the Pacific Islands. So we can think
they died quite young, didn't they?
They died quite young as well. There's a lot of different reasons that might be as well. You've got to think about the environment then as well, and there are a lot of histories about being important for their fur as well. But they were healthy. They were
well fed.
They were well fed. They didn't have cavities from eating sugary, processed fibery foods. But in the Pacific, there are studies that show a bit more evidence of that. Particularly in Hawaii, I believe. There's a study
different types of things they were fed.
That they were fed, and here, our studies were showing, at least from their teeth, you weren't seeing a lot of these dental markers that otherwise
you also noticed one dog was buried with its owner. Is that right? Or
Yeah, so that was that. With its owner. They were in burials. Maybe not with
No.
their owner, but yeah, there's a really cool paper, and we were lucky to be on it with a collaboration with Otago and Matthew Campbell at CFG Heritage, a consultant archaeological site. Just at the airport, so the Northern Regional Runway
Of Auckland
of
Airport.
Auckland Airport. Matt and his team found a lot of archaeology, a late Maori settlement, and so I'm talking like 1600s, around that time period. And in that paper, we talk about how, not just human burials, but separately you've also got dog burials as well, kuri being buried there. And so myself and Melinda had analysed the teeth, and other amazing archaeologists had looked at the humans and the other artifacts. And it was really interesting to see, again, like the... their health being quite good, but a puppy being buried as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just really shows that care.
That care and how important they were.
How important they were. Yeah.
Look, this has been very fascinating, but I feel like we probably need to wrap it up. One other thing I was going to ask you, what next for you? You're finishing, just about to submit your PhD.
Yeah.
What can we expect to hear from Patricia Pillay?
Oh, well, I definitely am really grateful for support from our academic colleagues in East Polynesia, in French Polynesia specifically. CIRAP, which is the International Centre of Archaeological Polynesian Research, they've been largely supportive, and our academic and government representatives are for the Marquesas. But it will be wonderful to go over there.
Because you haven't been yet.
Not yet. I've been fortunate to visit Tahiti and interact with wonderful colleagues there. But it would be wonderful to go back to Nukuhiva Island and really share this research with the wonderful Marquesan communities and learn from them as well. I really want to make this accessible to everyone who might be interested.
Because it's remote up there, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
quite
not easy to get to.
No, and it'll be just. I think a lot of people have a lot of interesting ideas and thoughts about these environments and these birds, and I think it's also really, really important to share what we do at the university as well. And I'd love to inspire young children, especially young women, young girls, that these kinds of scientific tools are possible.
And these jobs
as well. There are ways to integrate your passion with meaningful work that can contribute to bigger issues. Yeah.
I hope you do that, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming in.
Kia ora, Julianne. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Research and Reason podcast. Stay up to date with the Faculty of Arts and Education by following us on social media.